to the IRS or state, this may be the most important phone call you'll ever make.
I owed $87,000 in taxes. But listen.
Your tax problem is settled. You only owe $3,500.
What a great message.
If you owe $10,000 or more to the IRS or state, then you owe it to yourself to call this number. Let our experts help guide you through the process of negotiating a tax settlement. Call this number or go to tax10000.com.
We all know that movement is like medicine, but getting the movement you need to feel better can be a challenge. Now you can keep fit while you sit with QB, the world's leading compact seated elliptical. QB gives you active sitting, letting you burn calories and keep moving in an easy and low-impact way, all while you work, read, or watch TV. QB was named a top 10 gift by Time Magazine and has been featured all over the world. It's whisper quiet while it works your abs and core, hip flexors, glutes, quads, hamstrings, and calves.
QB is a lifesaver for me.
Here's your answer to your problem.
I feel young again.
Join the hundreds of thousands of people moving more with QB. Call to find out how to get your QB with free shipping and a 30-day completely risk-free trial. You'll also get this QB workout mat free. Now keep fit while you sit with QB.
To order, call 800-289-5820. That's 800-289-5820. Call now.
Good evening and welcome to RFL. I'm Richard French. Less than 24 hours from now, Republicans, they're going to cement their allegiance to Donald J. Trump as if it was in question. Tomorrow, they will vote on whether or not to oust Liz Cheney from leadership, even though, I should tell you, she's a staunch conservative and the number 3 ranking Republican in the House. It's expected that they will, in fact, have enough votes to boot her from leadership. Her sin, you ask? Well, daring to denounce Trump, the big lie about the election, and his role in the Capitol insurrection. The man leading the charge to get rid of her, that's House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy. Earlier today, he sent a letter to his caucus, which I'll now read a portion of for you. Quote, having heard from so many of you in recent days, it's clear that we need to make a change. As such, you should anticipate a vote on recalling the conference chair this Wednesday. We are a big tent party. We represent Americans of all backgrounds and continue to grow our movement by the day. And unlike the left, we embrace free thought and debate. All members are elected to represent their constituents as they see fit, but our leadership team cannot afford to be distracted from the important work we were and the shared goals that we hope to achieve. The stakes too high to come up short. Now, McCarthy is upset because Cheney keeps saying things like this.
We just had a violent mob assault the U.S. Capitol in an attempt to prevent us from carrying out our constitutional duty. And there's no question that the president formed the mob, the president incited the mob, the president addressed the mob, he lit the flame. This is what America is not.
It should be noted, she said that on January 6th, and she's kept saying it every time she's been asked. Kevin McCarthy said the same thing the evening of January 6th, but has since done a 180. Now, behind the scenes, there is a lot of drama and second-guessing of Mr. McCarthy. Politico spoke with many Republicans off the record, and I'm going to quote from a few of their reactions. 1, I'd be worried if I was him. You have people like me who are here to do the right thing for all the right reasons and have an expectation of leadership that are, shall we say, disgusted with the internal squabbling that results from having weak leadership. And it's weak leadership straight up. Another, he's flip-flopped on January 6th and whether it's Trump's fault. It seems like he doesn't have the backbone to lead. He bends to political pressure. Now, the woman who is presumably tapped to replace Cheney is Congresswoman Elise Stefanik from upstate New York. She's a Trumper now, but wasn't always. In fact, she even voted against his signature achievements, the tax cuts. But she caught Trump's eye when she defended him during the first impeachment and then became a fixture on Fox News. I want to bring in our guest to discuss A.B. Stoddard. She's associate editor at Real Clear Politics. Her most recent piece has the headline, Cheney's choice will sting no matter what the GOP does. So it's now just a fait accompli. It's happening. And I'm curious, when the math is done, she kept her job by a wide margin, A.B., the last time they had a secret ballot. I take it that it's a given she's going to lose that job And will it be by the same kind of swing, even though nothing's really changed?
I think that's what's so interesting, right? It's sort of all over but the vote tally now. And I've spoken to some members who believe it'll be much tighter than Kevin McCarthy and Elise Stefanik think. It's likely that she prevails, but there are people that are going to tell Elise Stefanik that she has their vote, and then they're going to vote for Liz Cheney. I still think in the end, Liz Cheney's going to lose her post. And I think that this is a really dramatic event. If you think about her first vote, 145 to 61, this is McCarthy putting down a marker that they have to choose the path of the big lie, the litmus test of the big lie, and otherwise they're going to be punished by former President Trump. And Elise Stefanik is more than happy to go along with that. But those complaints that Politico reported, I have spoken to some members about the same. I mean, some people believe that Kevin McCarthy at the first vote gave what was considered a half-assed defense of Liz Cheney, that he then made the rank and file vote on whether or not Marjorie Taylor Greene should retain her committee assignment, something a leader is supposed to take care of on his own and spare the rank and file from deciding on, just as Kevin McCarthy had done with Congressman Steve King. And then in the weeks that followed, they felt that he was working to undermine her at the direction of President Trump. At the same time, Liz Cheney chose this issue months ago as an existential threat to her party and to democracy, and she is not going to stay quiet. So they can toss her out of her leadership post. They might be able to defeat her in her primary in Wyoming. There's a good chance that they can if they coalesce around one challenger, but she is not going to stay quiet. And it from the piece that I wrote, it's clear that Liz Cheney, to put it bluntly, has receipts, and she intends to deliver them. She has been strategically leaking, or her allies are, for days now, about things that she's done and about the things the leadership is doing, and I expect that to continue no matter what happens with the vote.
So, Abby, I've asked this question to a lot of folks who cover the Hill, and nobody can really explain the why part. In the evening of January 6th, McConnell gave cover to McCarthy, where maybe, he didn't have the backbone to vote on impeachment, but he basically said, McConnell, hey, don't look any further than the president. He owns this thing. And by the way, if you guys want to prosecute him even criminally, have at it. McCarthy, we've gone ad nauseum about that phone call that he got, even with Republican witnesses, where Trump told him basically maybe he should have cared more about the election, and McCarthy responded with a few F-bombs of his own. But he said on the 6th, hey, look to the president. He owns this. What happened where he went all sissy boy and went flying down to Mar-a-Lago to kiss the ring? My point is, if you're going to kill the king, kill the king. They had an out. Why did he capitulate and run to Florida when they had a chance to get out from under this?
I think McConnell is a much smarter, a strategic leader than Kevin McCarthy. He's been at this a long time, and he really rarely makes mistakes. And he chose, for his own legacy as an institutionalist, to vote with the large majority of his conference to not impeach President Trump for inciting the riot, and then give a floor speech saying he incited the riot and might be held criminally prosecutable for that. Criminally liable. McCarthy thought that he was having the natural reaction, which was clear the president not only incited this, but he refused to escalate it in the middle of the siege when McCarthy was begging him to. And then in the days and weeks to follow, there was word from Trump world that Trump would, A, potentially form a third party, and B, start primary challenges against House incumbent members, some who voted for impeachment, maybe others who were not like MAGA enough. And so Kevin McCarthy, who wants to be speaker very badly, decided that he had to run to Mar-a-Lago and beg him not to do those things, to work on behalf of the members in the conference and to not run in 2024 or not threaten to as a third-party candidate. McConnell is doing a weird two-step where he's able to let Ron Johnson and all these other people speak on behalf, Lindsey Graham, of President Trump while he stays silent and intends to never speak to him again. But you notice that he still has gone on Fox and said he would support him in 2024. And unlike Liz Cheney, he's not criticizing him any longer. So they're choosing different paths. There will be different results, but Kevin McCarthy is really eager to be speaker. He has knives in his back in his own conference. Even Steve Scalise, his number 2, is vying for that job. And so he's doing everything he can to try to keep Trump's threats at bay.
Adam Kinzinger, who probably after Cheney has been the loudest voice in terms of not recognizing his party now and that his party being wrong on what happened on the 6th, he's actually said that he told Kevin McCarthy on an open conference call a couple days before the 6th that there was real trouble coming and there could be a riot. He also said this about where his party is right now, if we can play the soundbite.
Right now, it's basically the Titanic. We're like, you know, in the middle of this slow sink. We have a band playing on the deck telling everybody it's fine. And meanwhile, as I've said, you know, Donald Trump's running around trying to find women's clothing and get on the first lifeboat. And I think there's a few of us that are just saying, guys, this is not good, not just for the future of the party, but this is not good for the future of this country.
Where is the smart money? Forget the morality within the Republican circles. And I saw competing sound bites where you had Lindsey Graham saying, listen, if you think we can win without Donald Trump, you're wrong. That's the only way we're ever going to get back to relevancy as a national party. And then I saw Larry Hogan, the Republican governor of Maryland, saying, we're in the wilderness because of him. We lost the White House. We lost the Senate. We didn't get the House. You know, it's because of Trump. I mean, how much more is it going to take? What does this, I mean, I know what McConnell said, but I also know what he hasn't done in recent weeks in terms of really pulling the party away from Trump like Liz Cheney has. So when they look at the map and the math, what does it tell them?
McConnell seems, as I said, to have been trying to take a personal stake that he can stand apart from this, be disgusted, and separate himself, but implicitly be supporting members in their races to keep their seats in the midterm so that McConnell can potentially be majority leader again in 2022 or 2024. McCarthy is just full on begging. Adam Kinzinger and Liz Cheney, and Mitt Romney are in a small boat by themselves, unfortunately. They are right. This is a terrible long-term strategy for the party to embrace a lie that is corrosive to democracy and will threaten every future election of ours going forward, no matter who the winner looks like it is or is certified by states to be. This is really incredibly dangerous, but they are a small minority. What's so interesting, as I said, is that Cheney actually clearly, her allies provided this nugget in a Washington Post report over the weekend about how the House Republican leaders are not telling their own rank and file about how toxic Donald Trump's approval numbers are in battleground districts. They're literally hiding the threat to members who are trying to hold on to swing districts of how unpopular Trump is from them to protect the former president. And that's why Cheney World made sure that ended up in the Washington Post on Saturday. They are not going to save the party. They're not going to change the party. They don't represent the party. But I believe that my governor, Larry Hogan, and the three of them and some others are going to continue to be very loud about this and continue to make it problematic for McCarthy and the rest of the Republican conference and the president going forward. Former president, excuse me.
AB, are we going to have a January 6th commission, whether McCarthy and others like it or not, and it's going to be on the riot, not some Antifa or whatever other stuff? Is that going to happen, and it's just now negotiating the details? Or, I mean, I can't believe, here we are, in the middle of May, and we haven't even gotten, the groundwork going on this thing. And I would imagine, if it happens as expected, there's got to be a lot of folks afraid about what might come out.
That is definitely true. And I think that's been part of the push to oppose it. What I was concerned about, because this absolutely has to happen, was that the House Speaker, Nancy Pelosi, was insisting on a stacked commission and not making it equally representative like the 9/11 Commission was. And this one has to be. So both sides are now going to have subpoena power. They're going to be equally represented. And that's really the starting point. The idea of bringing in left-wing violence and Antifa protests and damage at protests and riots into this commission, a bloody insurrection at the seat of our government meant to basically stage a coup and overturn the results of the election and stop the peaceful transfer of power is not comparable, obviously, to protests that turn into riots in cities after some police brutality or other events. So I don't know that the Republicans are going to get far on that, even though they're trying to make a stand for their voters and for former President Trump. But the idea, again, that Pelosi has turned and she will bring this, the legitimacy of equal representation and subpoena power for both sides, just like the 9/11 Commission, I think was really essential and gives me great hope that something can be worked out.
Very interesting stuff. Amy Stoddard, as always, I really appreciate the time. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, everyone, when we come back, I'm going to show you how Republican-led states still are not going to give up on the last election. That's right, we are in the middle of May here, while at the same time, they're trying to suppress the vote of the next election to come.
Shake your legs, shake your abs, shake your butt, shake up your entire body to a slim, firm, and sexy new you with PowerFit Elite, the breakthrough multi-directional vibration platform that helps engage all your muscles from the moment you step on it. PowerFit uses multi-directional vibration to create muscle confusion and rapidly contract and relax your muscles to help you get fit and stay fit.
It's intense. You really feel your whole body working. You could be watching TV, but you do feel the workout.
It works you out where you don't feel like you're working out. It's actually a lot of fun.
Each traditional exercise that you do on PowerFit Elite can help sculpt, transform, and redefine your body from head to toe. The secret is the multi-directional vibration technology that causes muscle confusion and forces them to contract and counter-challenge you. Your muscles work hard so you can stabilize and maintain your balance. There are 3 standing positions: walking, jogging, and then running. Plus, there are 3 different program levels for workouts to choose from, so you can really customize your workout. PowerFit Elite can help improve your energy, burn calories, tone your body, define your abs, work your arms, strengthen your legs, boost your buttocks, and so much more. And for an even more intense workout, add resistance bands for bicep curls, forward lateral raises, and crisscross pulls. It's time to join the new fitness revolution that's shaking up the world. Call or go online now and you can try PowerFit Elite in your home for 30 days for only $14.95. But wait, order right now and we'll upgrade you to the deluxe set that includes the complete workout guide, the power bands, and the handy remote control. That's an over $80 value free. Try PowerFit Elite in your home for 30 days. And if it's not the best workout system you've used, just return it for a refund of your trial price. But hold everything, we'll also add our healthy eating plan to help you achieve your best possible results free. Try PowerFit Elite in your home for 30 days for only $14.95 and experience the power of extreme vibration. Order
when you fall and can't get help.
Help!
You will lie on the floor for hours or days in constant, terrible anguish, which often results in a tragic outcome. But with Life Alert, one touch of a button can get you help fast.
Don't worry, help is on the way.
With any of Life Alert's 3 emergency systems, help can be summoned immediately, whether at home,
I've fallen and I can't get up.
in the bathroom,
I've fallen in the shower.
or on the go.
Help! I'm in the park and I can't get up.
And batteries never need charging. Life Alert saves a life every 11 minutes.
For a free Life Alert brochure, call 1-800-215-6582. That's 1-800-215-6582. Call now. 1-800-215-6582.
Your vote is pressure.
Almost sacred.
It is unbelievable
that there are Republican officials
trying to stop some people from voting, cutting polling hours and imposing requirements intended to suppress the vote.
I've seen this before.
Too many people died to make it possible for every American to exercise their right to vote. We have come too far together to ever turn back.
That's a new spot from a voting rights group that is pushing for the Senate to take up the bill that the House passed, which would make it easier for people to vote, as it already attempts to rein in states that are doing just the opposite. In a minute, we're going to be talking about how red states are still trying to, well, maybe no uncertain terms, mess with the last election here. But we're going to start first with what those same states are doing to impact the next one. We're now seeing a wave of voter restriction laws continuing to wash over red state after red state. I want to begin in Florida, where Governor Ron DeSantis, he just signed a law making it harder to get mail ballots. It also toughens voter ID rules for absentee ballots, makes it harder to register. It also gives partisan observers more power in the process. And the governor, he didn't even hide how partisan this all was. He did the actual signing on camera, but for Fox and Fox News alone, pro-Trump group called Club 45 USA, they were the folks standing right behind the governor. Trump, he won Florida just like he won Texas, but apparently not stopping those states from making widespread changes to the way the people cast their vote. Republicans in the Texas legislature, they passed a sweeping bill loaded with voting restrictions. The state Senate now working its own version. GOP, it markets itself as the pro-business party, but more than 50 large corporations that operate in Texas, they're publicly opposing the new measures that include Microsoft, American Airlines, Patagonia, Levi, Etsy, Warby Parker, and many others. A group of more than 100 Houston area executives authoring another letter bashing this GOP election bill as well as bad for America. Now, the moves in both Florida and Texas coming after a similar law passed in Georgia, which caused big backlash from companies there. And then we have Arizona. That's where Republicans are focusing on the next election, but also still not letting go about what just happened in November. They're trying to prove, even though there's no evidence to support it, that Trump, he won the last one. And again, I'll break the suspense, that Donald didn't. He lost in Arizona and nationwide, and if you look at the popular vote, not even close. The partisan recount that was ordered by the state Senate is still ongoing in Maricopa County, Arizona, and rather than being run by election officials who did their own recount last year, this one is being conducted, and again, I'm not trying to be flip here with the name. They call themselves the Cyber Ninjas. The CEO of the group supports the big lie that the election was stolen from Trump. Plus, they went to court to try to keep what it's doing secret from any observation, in part because they have zero experience when it comes to running recounts. And now the ninjas, they're trying to get contracts to do similar recounts in other states. Again, yes, red ones. So the questions about the 2020 election will never end. Now, the Cyber Ninjas, they may be good at the ninja part, as they're trying to do everything, as I said, under the radar. And that could be very dangerous. They are looking at people's actual ballots, spurring fears that they could tamper with those ballots. Plus, they're doing off-the-wall things like using ultraviolet light to check for bamboo in ballots. It's part of some wild conspiracy theory that bad ballots were flown in from Asia. I can't make this up. And among those that are counting for the ninjas is a guy who was photographed, yes, participating in the Capitol Hill riot. Even longtime Arizona Republicans say what's going on in Maricopa is just nuts, including a one-time state attorney general.
He's one of the ones counting ballots. He had a pen in hand. So this is an unbiased count to make sure everything was fair. And you have one of the insurrectionists who is looking at his own name on a ballot. The whole thing is a sham. These people just can't get over it. They lost. In every election somebody loses, and most people can take it and some people can't. So I agree with you, this is totally over the line. It's totally out of control.
Now I've got the Department of Justice issuing a warning letter to the people running that recount, saying it could be violating the civil rights of Arizonians, that there are issues of non-compliance with federal election laws, ballots could be altered, lost, or compromised. And since the Cyber Ninjas plan to actually interview voters, there are obvious fears of voter intimidation. I want to bring in our next guest who says it's not just about compromising rights when it comes to being able to cast your ballot, but also the folks that are doing the work to make sure that we can all vote. He recently penned an opinion piece in the Washington Post with the headline, "Republicans aren't just making it harder to vote, they're going after election officials too." Joshua Douglas, a law professor at the University of Kentucky, kind enough to give us a few minutes. And Joshua, maybe I'm as guilty as anybody, because I look at the cyber ninjas and I just laugh at the insanity of it all, thinking nobody's going to believe this nonsense, let alone put credibility in it. But not only do people believe this, or at least people parroting on Capitol Hill, they're even part of the big lie crowd, but they're threatening people who are just doing their jobs regardless of their party affiliation. And you wrote in your piece about people in Iowa, in Florida, in Texas, making it harder on election officials, not just in those states, but in other states, for the temerity of saying, we've done the count, we've done the recount, we've done the audit, it's legit. They're getting death threats consequentially.
Yeah, it's really horrible to see what's happening to the heroes on the ground. Local election officials are highly trained. They're professional. If you talk to any of them, they'll say basically they don't care who wins. What they want is a high turnout and a landslide election where the margins are not close. They want to run a fair, high turnout and fraud-free election, and yet they're being attacked all over the place. So, they were under attack after November 2020 and leading into January with death threats and the like. And now you have states passing laws that would actually criminalize these election workers if they don't strictly follow the new voter restrictions that these states are passing.
Josh, you're a law professor, so help me out with this. What inherent rights do we have as Americans, regardless of the state we live in, that we have a right to a free and a fair election to cast our ballot? Where can states step in to infringe on that basic right, and where can't they? Are we headed for a collision at the federal level if, let's say, a Florida decides, well, no, you're only going to be able to open up these ballots for these certain amount of hours, basically because we don't like the way you voted in the last election?
Well, it probably won't surprise you, Richard, that that's a pretty complicated and complex question involving multiple layers of constitutional law and Supreme Court guidance. Ultimately, the Supreme Court has said that there's a right to vote inherent within the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment. Essentially, states have to treat voters equally in their access to the ballot. But also importantly, state constitutions grant the right to vote. In almost every state, the state constitution has language that says something like, every citizen of this state shall be a qualified voter. The question then becomes, will the courts uphold the right to vote and brush back these state attempts at voter restrictions that do treats voters rather unequally? And I'd say it's a mixed bag right now, in part because not only are unscrupulous politicians attacking voting rights, but they're also putting their own cronies essentially on the courts to ensure that the legislatures have the deference to do as they wish to the right to vote.
But here's the part where I struggle with, Professor, and believe me, I'm not a babe in the woods when it comes to politics and the agendas behind it, but this seems to be a remedy in search of a problem, in that you have Republican elected officials, whether it be at the Secretary of State levels or at the Board of Elections, who have said, guys, we've gone through this 2 and 3 times. We've had minders from both political parties who observed at every ballot that was being counted. The math is the math. And if there's any fraud that we found, obviously not enough to overturn an election, but it's even come from the side that's accusing the other of malfeasance. Won't a court inevitably look and say, wait a minute, you're trying to create a disenfranchisement policy, even though that you can show no evidence of wrongdoing? And why wouldn't that, be the prima facie rationale to say, no good, go back to the old way?
Well, I think there's 2 answers to that question. And the first is the courts have already done that, at least with respect to the 2020 election results. Trump in his campaign filed lawsuits all over the country that were completely frivolous, had no evidence whatsoever, and the courts routinely and soundly threw them out. And so the 2020 election has been affirmed in terms of the results not only by the election officials, but by the courts. But in terms of new laws in response to the big lie, that's a much harder question, because the Constitution does give state legislatures, in the first instance, the ability to regulate elections. So they have a textual hook to say, we're the ones that should determine how our elections should be run. Now, of course, anybody thinking about this in terms of an aspect of fairness would say it's crazy. I'm a big baseball fan, and I'd say, if you have a big game between the Yankees and the Red Sox, the Yankees get to choose the umpires and also get to choose the rules, no one would say that's fair. But that's essentially what we have with our elections, and that's because partisan state legislatures are given the authority to regulate elections. So then again, that brings about the courts. To what extent will the courts scrutinize legislatures more carefully to say, look, if you're going to impose a burden on the right to vote, if you're going to treat voters unequally, you have to have a really good reason for doing so. But unfortunately, the U.S. Supreme Court and federal appeals courts in 2020 really took a light touch to review of state laws, even during a pandemic when voters had a much harder time casting a ballot. So the signals from the U.S. Supreme Court are not promising with respect to scrutinizing carefully these new laws. Instead, deference is being given to these politicians who are, of course, self-interested in crafting the rules of the game. And
you've got a book, in fact, about, it's called Vote for Us, How to Take Back Our Elections and Change the Future of Voting. And I want to get to some of the solutions you think we ought to inherit. But one of the things that surprised folks was there was efforts even made prior to the 2020 elections, and they backfired in a lot of ways. When you take a right away from anyone, particularly Americans, all of a sudden, even if they weren't planning to exercise that right, they're going to fight for it a little bit more. Is there a feeling that, since this has nothing to do with integrity and transparency, that Republicans might regret it? Because historically, they were the party that was trying to increase mail-in voting, targeting a lot of seniors. And then only when it became where you had brown and black voters voting in larger numbers, certainly in Florida, that all of a sudden it became, crisis number one here to restrict that as a way to cast your ballot. Is there a fear that there may be a look back not too long ago from Republicans saying, this didn't turn out the way we hoped?
Well, I think there's been some murmurings of that concern that there's going to be a voter backlash and more people will turn out, in fact. But, even thinking about the 2020 election, which had a record turnout of about 2/3 of eligible Americans showing up, that means that 1/3 of the eligible electorate did not vote, chose to sit this one out. And so you have to sort of question, to what extent do we have a strong democracy when 1/3 of the people don't show up? And can you make inroads on the margins, right? So I think the theory is, if we can restrict the right to vote, or at least just make it harder for our opponents' supporters to show up, then perhaps we can win a little bit on the margins in a close election, right? They're not going to be able to make a difference in a landslide election, but you could certainly make a difference in a close election. But the other thing I think that is sort of overlaying all of this is the problem of gerrymandering, right? Where we don't start with a system that's fair with respect to the most votes should lead to the most people in the legislature, the most people representing us. And we're about to start in on a new round of redistricting as well. And these things are all intertwined, right? Because if you can draw the lines in such a way that skews the results, and you can impose voter restrictions that make it harder for some people to turn out, then you can make a difference on the margins, even if you might have voter backlash and higher turnout among some populations.
Again, the book, Vote for US or Vote for Us, How to Take Back Our Elections and Change the Future of Voting. Professor Douglas, I appreciate the time.
Thanks for having me.
And up next, a segment we call By the Numbers. After the break, we're going to show you how we, the people, the American public, feels about the job President Biden's doing, COVID, the California recall election, and a whole lot more. Stay with us.
This is a national healthcare alert from the 24/7 Diabetic Health Hotline. If you, a family member, or a loved one has diabetes, listen closely. Now, regardless of your age, if you have insurance, you may qualify to receive diabetic testing supplies with little to no out-of-pocket cost. Get free delivery, free information, and all the paperwork is handled by our accredited suppliers for free. Call the 24/7 Diabetic Health Hotline now for details. Toll free at this number. But wait, there's more. If you call right now, you could get a meter upgrade. In addition, we'll give you a free pair of diabetic socks as our special gift to you. Regardless of your age, if you suffer with diabetes and have insurance, you may qualify to get free delivery of your supplies. Call now. We can help.
Call 1-800-972-0451. 1-800-972-0451. That's 1-800-972-0451. Call now.
The first 3 months, we saved $4,100.
CarShield saved me over $6,000 in engine repairs.
I saved $4,100 out of pocket.
Amazing, amazing.
Customers everywhere agree. If your car is out of warranty, you need to call CarShield before your car has an expensive breakdown.
Without CarShield, there was no way that I could afford to get my car fixed.
An engine, transmission, or computer system breakdown could cost you thousands of dollars, but not with CarShield, America's #1 car protection provider.
CarShield saved us $4,000. That was great, right?
Yes, it was.
We're just happy with CarShield. They put a transmission in it and a motor. Who does that?
CarShield makes sure you don't have to pay for expensive car repairs.
The components that we're using are not getting cheaper. So nowadays, coverage is even more important.
CarShield covers most makes and models from 5,000 to 150,000 miles.
It's easy, affordable, and no long-term contracts.
And when customers realize that they're getting a $5,000 job for $100, they're excited. I've had customers who were so happy that they did break down into tears and cry.
We saved over $6,000 on a complete engine rebuild of our truck.
With CarShield, I saved over $3,600. It's a no-brainer.
I never have to worry about being taken advantage of when it comes to car repairs.
It's like having a suit of armor around my car.
Cars will break down, and those breakdowns could cost you thousands unless you call CarShield today and get the protection you deserve.
CarShield saved me in excess of $10,000.
And when you call, you'll also receive at no extra cost roadside assistance, towing services, and rental coverage.
If your car's out of warranty, believe me, you want to have CarShield.
Make the smart choice and protect yourself from sky-high auto repair bills. Call now for a free and instant protection plan quote. It's only a matter of time until repairs are needed. And once your car breaks down, it's too late. Call 800-858-4214, 800-858-4214.
And welcome back. In this segment, we're going to show you how we, the people, feel about a number of issues and also political races. I want to start at the top with the President of the United States. A new poll shows that Joe Biden has an approval rating of 63%. It's only fair to note that this number is higher than many other polls, but the president, he's firmly in the mid-50s at the minimum, no matter which poll you look at. Also, President Biden continues to get high marks for his handling of the COVID crisis. Overall, 7 in 10 Americans say he's doing a good job, and even 47% of Republicans agree as it relates to the pandemic. And speaking of COVID, a new survey, it shows that the growing number of people are ready to resume the things they did prior to the pandemic. Less than half now say returning to normal carries risks. 3 weeks ago, that number stood at 52%. And check out these numbers. More than half of Americans surveyed said that they've eaten in a restaurant in the past week. Nearly 6 in 10, they visited friends or relatives. A third have just made summer plans, and 58% now say they wear masks when they leave the house. That is, that last one's been falling since the vaccine started getting into people's arms. And speaking of the shot, most people, they want proof of vaccination before they travel or attend a sporting event. But those numbers, they're below 50% when you look at going to salons or barbershops, outdoor dining, or even shopping. Now let's pivot to politics and look at the biggest races that we're going to be watching in our viewing area. And let's start off with the biggest. I'm talking about California. It looks like the Golden State's headed towards a recall election when it comes for Governor Gavin Newsom. But the Democrat has an approval rating that's sitting over 50%, and only about a third of the voters support the overall premise of a recall effort. Now, we also have the first numbers on the Republican field that wants to take on Newsom. Two candidates, they're tied for the lead, sitting at just 22% support. Former San Diego Mayor Kevin Falconer and businessman John Cox, who lost to Newsom in the 2019 gubernatorial race. Former Congressman Doug Ose, he's got 14%, and Caitlyn Jenner, she's sitting in single digits. Let's go to the East Coast now, to Virginia, where Terry McAuliffe, he is trying to become governor again. McAuliffe, also the former head of the DNC and a close confidant of the Clintons. McAuliffe, he's dominating the field in a recent poll, getting nearly 50% support. No one else is even cracking 10%. Now, waiting for McAuliffe is a Republican who just got the endorsement of Donald J. Trump. Now, whether or not that's going to help or hurt in a state that went for Biden 4 years ago, to be seen, but businessman and former CEO of the Carlyle Group, Glenn Youngkin, he's the only Republican running since his last remaining opponent dropped out. All right, when we come back, we're going to turn back to COVID, and big news when it comes to the vaccine front, as Pfizer gets approval to use its shot now on kids as young as 12. After the break, ABC News chief medical correspondent Dr. Jen Ashton, she'll join us to discuss that and much more.
Remember when taking a hot bath was the best part of your day? And for some, it can be hard and even not safe just getting in. Older bathtubs can be as high as 20 inches. Let's face the facts. As we get older, our knees and backs start to hurt us. Getting in and out of an old bathtub can be difficult and even dangerous. Jacuzzi Bath Remodel, a name you know and trust, has the perfect solution for you. We call it the tub to shower conversion. We'll remove your old bathtub and the need to step over a dangerously high threshold, replacing it with the safety and luxury of a low-profile walk-in shower. Advanced materials mean no more mold or mildew from an old bathroom. And all this in about a day. As a special bonus to you, you'll get a special extra safety feature for free. So please call now.
After an auto accident, insurance companies will try to outsmart you and pay as little as possible. At Vocate Legal, our attorneys know exactly how big insurance thinks and how to outsmart them. That's all we do, day in and day out. Call us today or visit vocate.com for a free consultation. We'll help you connect to a qualified attorney in under 10 minutes. Get a free consultation and we'll start working for you right away. Better yet, you don't pay unless you win your case. Our accomplished attorneys have the experience and knowledge to handle your case strategically and will fight to get your medical expenses paid, your car repaired, and the maximum compensation. Make the right move and partner with one of our Vocate legal attorneys at no upfront cost to you. Call us today or visit vocate.com for a free consultation.
Vocate Legal, fight smarter.
This is important news for people who took certain drugs for HIV and then suffered serious injury to their kidneys or bones. If you or a loved one took Truvada, Viriad, Atroplus, Stribild, or Complera and were then diagnosed with kidney disease, kidney failure, bone fractures, bone density loss, or softening of the bones, call Davis & Crump right now to see if you're eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Our first consultation is free and we don't get paid unless you get paid. Call Davis & Crump right now. Operators are standing by.
More than a third of all Americans are fully vaccinated, and at least 2 million people are getting the shot each and every day. Now, tens of millions of children could soon get inoculated as well. Millions of American children could soon be rolling up their sleeves to get their COVID-19 shot.
I think this is absolutely huge. The idea that now there's another 17 million people who will have the opportunity to be protected.
The FDA announcing the Pfizer vaccine can be given to 12 to 15-year-olds after the drug maker reported it is 100% effective against the coronavirus for that age group with no safety concerns. Some parents, like Rosa Villanueva of Houston, they've been eagerly waiting for this moment.
Just saw it in the news last week or two, I don't know when it came out. My husband sent me the text and I started crying in the car. I'm like, oh my God, it's happening.
And this teenager from Kentucky helped get us here. 14-year-old Ty Dropic took part in Pfizer's clinical trial in December.
It's a really good process. It's really
helps the community. So do it, if not for you, for the community.
In an exclusive interview with ABC News, Pfizer's CEO says that 12 to 15-year-olds should get the same 2 shots as adults.
It requires 2 doses because this is the way that we will be able to accomplish good enough immunity for one to be at 95%.
Still, some are hesitant, but experts say the data shows that it's safe.
There's for sure benefits that have really been thoroughly proven in these trials. And those benefits are here and now, right, in terms of the safety for kids and their households and our broader community.
And for more, let's bring in our next guest to discuss, ABC News Chief Medical Correspondent, Dr. Jen Ashton. Well, Doctor, people heard the news yesterday. They've been waiting for a while, parents with kids 12 to 15. What would you say to a parent who's got some vaccine hesitancy, particularly with their child?
Well, first of all, I would speak to that parent to parent. I'm also a mom of 2 college-age kids that got vaccinated as soon as they were eligible through their COVID jobs. Taking the year off. And I think it's appropriate that parents have questions and concerns. That's our job as parents, to look after our children's health and well-being. And their concerns should not be trivialized, and they should be listened to, and they should be respected. But I think we have to stick with what the science and the clinical trial data has shown us, which was that these vaccines were not only safe, with 0 significant safety signals seen, side effects seen very similar to the rates and types of side effects that we've seen in the adult population, which were all mild and temporary and to be expected. And these vaccines' efficacy in this age group, 100% effective in preventing COVID-19, more effective than they were even in the adult population. Long-term data, no one has long-term data, even for adults. We're just approaching maybe 9 months for the people who were in the clinical trials, but we're in the setting of an unprecedented and historic global health emergency. So we don't really have time to sit around and wait 10 or 20 years for long-term data with this. We have to evaluate the risks which we know exist today, which is not just of getting infected with COVID-19, which thankfully is not usually a serious concern in this age group, but the risk of long-term damage from this virus, which we've seen in adults and in some children, that is much more of a frightening risk, in my opinion, as a mother and as a doctor. So you have to compare apples to apples when you talk about risk.
I'm sure you get a lot of questions, especially from some of the patients that have been double vaxxed, that say, well, when should I and shouldn't I have to wear a mask when it's outdoors, when it's indoors? I know you get this every day, but do you agree that it's a little bit confusing for those who've been vaccinated, and when do you think we're going to get more clarity? I appreciate the professionals in the front lines, the challenge they have ahead of them, but every day I hear people with different ideas about what you can and can't do.
100%. And I'm one of those people who is waiting with bated breath for the CDC to issue revised guidelines based on science, based on evidence that says that when you are fully vaccinated, you can do other things. You can go without a mask, even indoors. You can go to a sporting event outdoors without a mask. We do have science and data that suggests that the risk in certain environments when someone's been fully vaccinated is exceedingly low. As a doctor, as a scientist, I'm not looking for zero risk. That doesn't exist in any area of our life. I am looking for as low risk as possible, and the science and data suggests that after someone is fully vaccinated, these behaviors are very, very low risk. So yes, I agree with the question 100%. I think we need to be seeing more revision in these guidelines, because otherwise, you're 100% correct. Why would someone want to go through that, especially when it involves conquering their fear or concern? So I think that we do have that to look forward to. I think it will happen sooner rather than later. When exactly that occurs, your guess is as good as mine, but I agree. I think it's very important that we get there.
We see the tragedy playing out in India and the heightened concerns, what might happen in Africa. But what has been a pleasant surprise to me is, Our vaccine rollout, imperfect though it might be, we're the gold standard in the world right now in terms of at least making it available to our folks. What have you seen in terms of variants in other countries that gives you, if at all, concern that, we're getting ahead of this, but there could be another challenge that lies ahead, particularly for those who don't get vaccinated?
Well, let's start with the good news, because I'm a glasses half full type of person. Our vaccination campaign has been successful in a way that no one could have really guessed. We have vaccinated a massive portion of our population. We have a very broad and diverse country with a lot of challenges logistically, state by state and region by region, and we've done a really good job, and that's part of why we see our cases dropping to the lowest they've been in 7 months. And we should celebrate that success just as we learn from our mistakes here. Are we the best in the world per 100,000 people? No, but we're unlike any other country in the world. Now, when you look at what's going on in places like India, be clear, we need to be worried about that, not just altruistically, not just as human beings, but for ourselves. When viruses spread out of control like that, that is when they mutate. If they're not spreading, they can't develop variants. So those mutations absolutely can be here already. That's a fact. And so by the time you think of restricting travel, it's likely too late. That's why this is a global pandemic. This is a worldwide crisis, and we need to think of other countries in the world, not just because we care about them, but because it has the potential to directly affect us as well.
Dr. Ashton, thank you so much for the time as always. Appreciate it.
You bet. Thanks for having me.
All right, everyone, we'll be right back. Stay with us.
For more than 150 years, Brinks has been trusted with keeping your money safe. Now, Brinks introduces the Brinks Money Prepaid MasterCard to help protect what matters most to you. When having confidence that your money is safe matters most, Brinks can help.
I trust Brinks to help me do the right things with my money, and my family trusts me.
When having control of your money matters most, you can trust Brinks. Just load money onto your card account or use direct deposit.
Direct deposit puts our money in our hands faster than a paper check.
And Brinks helps us spend responsibly. We can track our purchases and pay bills online.
Call now or go online to order your Brinks Money Prepaid MasterCard. There's no credit check and no cost to order. And with a qualifying direct deposit, we'll upgrade you to Brinks Preferred, including a savings account that can earn up to a 5% annual percentage yield. Call 1-800-948-5902. Right now to order your Brinks Money Prepaid MasterCard. There's no cost to order. Call now.
I didn't know some Medicare Advantage plans may pay for dental visits. Did you?
I didn't know some Medicare Advantage plans may pay for transportation to my doctor. Did you?
I didn't know some Medicare Advantage plans may pay to have my prescriptions delivered directly to my home. Did you?
These and more are important benefits some Medicare Advantage plans may give you. So if you're eligible for Medicare, call us right now because you may be eligible to enroll in a plan with amazing additional benefits. Some Medicare Advantage plans may pay for services like these: dental visits, vision coverage, hearing coverage, home delivery of drugs, even gym memberships. Some plans may include no copays for many services and 0 deductibles. Don't wait to find out if you're eligible to enroll in a plan that may include some of these wonderful benefits you deserve. Call us right now. The call is free, the information is free, and there's no obligation. Make this free call now to learn if you're eligible to enroll in a Medicare Advantage plan that may include additional benefits you want. Call us right now.
Attention timeshare owners. This is an urgent consumer alert from the Timeshare Exit Hotline, a national company specializing in helping consumers legally get out of their expensive timeshare contracts. We're offering you a way to legally get rid of your timeshare. So if you're fed up with the maintenance fees that keep on coming and want to learn if you can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, call today. Call the number on your screen today. It's a free call.
Earlier in the hour, we showed you some polls that say Americans, they're ready to resume normalcy, get back to their lives pre-COVID, and that includes travel. But a whole host of people have a whole host of questions before they book their trips, and this piece has a lot of the answers.
Summer is just around the corner, and after a year of COVID-19 lockdowns, Americans are itching for a change of scenery.
I think that pent-up demand for travel is really finally starting to get released, and people are excited now booking flights and travel again.
The TSA says traveler numbers are quickly approaching pre-pandemic levels.
You know, I don't worry as much because I'm vaccinated already.
So how can you score the best deals and travel safely? We talked to the experts to get tips. First, now is the time to book that getaway you've been waiting for over a year.
If you wait until even mid or late May to book your flights, chances are there's not going to be any cheap summer flights left.
Most travelers pick their destination, then their dates, and then look at pricing. But to get the best deals, experts say flip that script. Search for cheap flights out of where you live, then settle on a destination that most interests you.
And that's how you're able to take 3 or 4 vacations for the same price you used to pay for one.
And be sure to pay attention to the COVID-19 guidelines at your desired destination. Some countries require a quarantine or proof of vaccination. Elsewhere, you just need to show a negative COVID test. One potential pricey hiccup, renting a car.
The car rental companies sold off their inventories when a year ago, no one was leaving their homes.
That means low inventory and expensive rates. Experts say consider skipping the rental and using ride shares as a way to save money. Once your tickets are booked and it's time to travel, safety is key, and air travel may be better than you think.
The fact that masks are required and the fact that airplanes have all these safety features built in makes it a far safer environment.
Airlines have long pointed to their air filtration systems. One study by the Defense Department and United found that with a mask on, just a tiny amount of particles actually got into another passenger's breathing zone. But be cautious in the airport, which could be crowded. Try and find an empty corner to limit your exposure to other travelers. The CDC recommends even fully vaccinated Americans still follow guidelines. Wear a mask, practice social distancing when possible, and wash your hands often.
All right, we're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we'll wrap things up.
If something happened to you, what would happen to them? Their home, their education, their future. You need life insurance, and chances are SelectQuote can help you get it for less than $1 a day.
SelectQuote found Jacob 40, a $500,000 policy for only $19 a month. And SelectQuote found his wife Wendy, a $500,000 policy for only $17 a month.
Our secret? At SelectQuote, we aggressively comparison shop up to 10 highly rated companies to find you the company with the best rates.
We found Gary, 35, a $1 million policy for only $22 a month.
Why pay more? Give your family the security they need at a price you can afford.
Call 800-717-7198 or go to selectquote.com now and get the insurance your family needs.
At a price you can afford. SelectQuote. We shop, you save.
Mary and Shirley both need oxygen. Shirley lost her freedom the day she went on oxygen, but Mary has the ultra-compact Inogen 1 G4 oxygen concentrator from Inogen. It's the smallest and lightest model we've ever made. Shirley is forced to miss out on everyday activities. Mary fully enjoys her life. Shirley has to wait for tank deliveries and worries about running out of oxygen. But Mary's Inogen 1 G4 makes its own oxygen, so she'll always have the oxygen she needs anytime, anywhere. Shirley finally listened to Mary and now has more freedom too. It's time for you to reclaim your freedom and independence with the Inogen 1 G4. Act now to start your 30-day risk-free trial. This is a limited time offer, so don't wait and don't accept substitutions. The sooner you call, the sooner you can say goodbye to heavy oxygen tanks for good and reclaim the freedom and independence you deserve. Call now for your 30-day risk-free trial.
Call 800-462-8146. That's 800-462-8146.
8 years ago, my daughter called to say she was expecting our first grandchild, but I never heard her say it. So a few years ago, Gina bought me a nano hearing aid. And now I love hearing Ryan call me Papa. And at only $297 for a full pair, they make a great gift for someone you know. Plus, call now and order one hearing aid, and Nano will give you a second absolutely free.
Call 1-800-238-2857.
Well, that's going to do it for RFL tonight. Thank you so much, as always, for joining us. I'll be back here tomorrow, 6 p.m. Eastern Time, as always. Hope to see you Wednesday.
Villains,